So thank you, Bjorn, for being here. It's really a pleasure for us to have you. I was saying that the Crystal Ship is a reference for everyone who's involved in street art. It has been a great platform for promoting local artists, but also is a reference place for many of the artists involved in street art. So thank you for being here, and the floor is yours to tell us about your project. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. It actually feels great that you say that Crystal Ship is a reference to many. I never would have thought that it would become a reference. I've been in the game for a long time, close to 15 years. I currently work for a company called All About Things. And with All About Things, we organize cultural events, cultural projects, and we will also open our own art gallery in 3 weeks' time. So I've been very busy on that level at the moment. Crystal Ship, I founded Crystal Ship back in 2016 because I was invited by the city of Austin to do a street art festival there. Crystal Ship is a yearly festival. It takes place during the Easter holidays, and each year I invite 15 to 20 international and local artists to do street art in the city. What is important for us is that all artworks stay permanently in the city, and all artworks form an art route within the city, and that route can be walked, or you also take the bike to see all the artworks. The event is pretty popular, I would say. We receive over 125,000 visitors per year. The festival is, of course, free for everyone, and we know those numbers by distributing our little art map. It's a little map that is only available at the tourist information office. So people that come to Austin to see all the wonderful street art, they get a map at the tourist information office, and then we can start their tour to see all of the works of Crystal Ship. I remember that when I got invited by the mayor of the city, that they thought street art was mostly for the younger people. But after the first year, we discovered that 30% of our visitors are older than 65. So street art is not only for younger people, but it's actually for everyone. And that's something I think it's very important to reflect on. I still remember when I was, after the first edition of Crystal Ship, I was driving along to see some of the works we've produced. And I remember I was at the mural of Fintan McGee, and there was like an old couple standing in front of the mural. And I stayed in my car and I just looked at them, and they were clearly talking about the mural of Fintan McGee because they were pointing their fingers. And I sat there in my car and they were like talking about art, about the work of Fintan McGee for 15 minutes. And that really touched me, and that gave me enough motivation to continue. So I've been continuing ever since. So each year, 15 to 20 artists come to Austin, and I ask the artists to reflect and get inspired by the locals and by the city. So we try to provide enough information for the artists to work with. Artists can also talk to locals, and I think it's really important to embrace the community, to inspire dialogue with the local people, because those artists, they don't live in Austin. So it's mostly the people of Austin themselves. They have to look at the newly created mural, Artists, they paint a mural and then they're off to another project. So I think it's very important that there's like a local reference or a local connection in the work that they make in Austin. I don't oblige it. I don't think it's mandatory, but I try to inspire my artists in that way, that there's some local connection with the work they create in Austin. At this point, our collection withholds 66 large-scale murals and about 250 smaller interventions in the streets. Ostend is not a super big city. It's only 90,000 people living there. So at this point, there's no single street that we have not touched with our street art. So that's very interesting. Ostend also did not have a history in street art or graffiti. It was not to be seen in the streets before we came to invade the city. So I think it's very, very interesting that we totally changed the city and we provided them with an event which is very popular for the local community. So that's for us also, that gives us enough motivation to continue the way we are doing. Maybe I can tell you some other numbers. The biggest mural in Ostend is 42 meters high, and it's been painted by Paola Delfin, a Mexican artist. What I also think is very important and often neglected, if I look at other street art festivals, is the gender equality. That's something I want to touch on. It's also something that Lina said, if I'm not mistaken, earlier. I don't promote my festival as being a gender equal festival, but what I do is I just try to make it happen. And I think at this point, about 30 to 40% of all artists I invite to Ostend are female. I think it's very important that female artists also receive the same platform. I remember that I received quite some emails from female artists all over the world, saying that it was really cool for me to give the biggest mural to a woman in Ostend. So I think it's also very, very important, and I see that it's often neglected. It's not only neglected in the street art world, but also in the contemporary art world. It's our duty as being a curator and an organizer to change that. I think I see a lot of artworks being produced about social and political issues, but there's also other stuff you can do. You can just invite more female artists to. Yeah. In an ideal world, it would be 50-50, of course, but that's still a bit difficult. But I think that is slowly changing, so I'm hoping for the best, and I do my very best to change that. Yeah. I can also touch base on something that David said earlier, that the scene has become more professional. My personal experience comes from music. I've always been active in the music industry, organizing music festivals and concerts. And when I quit in the music business, I had that other passion still laying around, which was art, not only street art, but art in general. So I decided to start my very first street art festival, which was back in 2011. And I just tried to take my experience I had from doing musical events and try to incorporate that in street art events. So what I did was I had a driver, a chauffeur, collecting all artists from the airport and taking them to the festival. But back in 2011, that was not to be seen because when my first artist arrived, he called me on the phone like in a very panic, and he said, "There's a guy at the airport standing with my name on a sign. Should I go with him, or who the fuck is that?" And I said, "Well, that's your driver. You should go with him. he comes to collect you to the airport and brings you to the festival. He was totally in panic because he did not understand. Many artists back then, and they just slept at the in the couch of the organizer. They got their paint for free, but they didn't get an artist fee. So I'm glad that everything changed then. So this only happened in like the last 10 years or something. So I'm very glad that we can try to change and professionalize the street art scene. And I think it's very important to also to pay every artist. There are still a lot of festivals around that don't have the budget and don't pay the artists. I think it's very, very important to, if you don't have a budget, don't organize a festival. I think it's very important, just ask the budget. I mean, talk to the city council, talk to the mayor, talk to politicians, and in that way you can receive budgets. And those budgets you can invest in artists, because it's really important that they get paid for their work.
Very much, Bjorn. Very interesting.